Well, hello and welcome to the wrap episode number 20. Today is Thursday, December 1st, 2022. It's episode 20 of the wrap. And this is a show rounding up all things Zwift from the last week racing, events, tech, fashion. We are live on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, as well as Facebook. There's also a podcast that you can download anywhere that you do find your podcasts. I am Nathan Guerra, and next to me is Anna Russel. I'm coming out of Wisconsin of the USA, and Anna Russel is in that place where supposedly the Lord of the Rings has originated, of New Zealand. Anna, good to have you. How's it going? How are you doing today?
Yeah, it's good. I'm stoked today. The weather's nice. It's been raining the last few days. Got good
Wait,
beach
did you
time
just say
planned.
the weather's nice? It's been
The
raining? Is
weather's good.
that
It's been raining. It's officially summer right here. 1st of December was yesterday for us, and it just has rained all week, which has been really grim. Good for Zwifting, though, I've got to say, because you sort of sit on there and look outside and go, well, I wouldn't be outside anyway. So, no, it's been great. It's
See, as a Zwifter, that's like you're like the weather's nice. It's been raining.
Yeah. So you get to go on Zwift and not kind of have this weird guilt factor associated with looking outside and going, I really should be out there. No, it's been awesome. How have you been going?
Good, super good. Working hard as always, and that's always really good. We'll talk also a little bit about how we've been going as we get into the show. Well, what do we got coming at for everybody today? As usual, we'll go over what we've been up to. We'll be talking a little bit, it sounds like, about the Sprintapalooza. We lost somebody in the community. We'll chat a little bit about that as well. We're going to tell you what a CDK is. I guess I'm going to learn something here. A very hot topic about fastest through segment. Now, this has been a calm down for me as well for a while, so I'm really glad we're going to be talking about that as we are going to have our little new highlight with the Calm Down Carissa section as well. We have our guest today. It's going to be Christopher Schwenker from the Help me out here. I'm saying Zommunique, but that's not right. Zommunique? Yes, Zommunique. I think Zommunique.
No,
Yes,
it's
no.
not. Zommunique.
Communique is what I would say there. Communique. Duh. Okay, thank you so much. So I got so used to saying it that way, and then it's stuck. It gets stuck. All right. We also have some exclusive content. That sounds risky, but okay, exclusive content for watchers and listeners only. The top 10 kits on Zwift for 22 and 23. This is kind of like official too, from what I'm understanding.
It's official, yeah.
It's like kind of official here. Of course, our Fashion in the Field with our fashion show as well. So welcome to the wrap, everybody. Excited to have you here. Let's get right down into it. What have you been up to for the last week in your Zwifting, Anna?
Well, okay, I can't. Well, first I started with Flamme Rouge Racing. I did that on Monday night. I'm not doing all stages because I would die, but I did do one of the stages, stage 3 maybe. Ended up, I think it was like Leith Hill after party, something. It was fun. Yeah, it was really cool. I love the Flamme Rouge stuff.
That's like one of the hardest courses in Zwift. It's like no big deal the way you said it. Leith Hill after party, like the most torturous race climb you can do.
Yeah, so it was good. I mean, I'm lucky that my strategy, I went into the climb and just went all out for like 2 minutes and the field just blew up. And so then I could almost kind of settle in a bit. It was me and another guy, like second and third, someone else had gone ahead. And if you haven't done Flamme Rouge Racing, it's quite fun because you're racing all categories and you can see based on what code they've got behind their name what category they're in. So I was kind of chasing down someone who I knew was a higher category, so it's a good way to sort of almost test yourself, and push yourself. But I've got to say that the race highlight was ZRL Sprintapalooza around at Neokyo Sprinters Playground. I don't know how your race was, Nathan, but man, I was on some emotional roller coaster. I don't know what was going on. We had Christina Grossman, who is our sprinter, and actually wrote on our team roster, like, you cannot miss this race. And she had some work emergency, and she's like, I'm going to miss it. I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God. So then it's up to you. It's like up to you. Oh, man.
So the ring-in, so thank God for Christy Tracy, but who's just come out of surgery. And she's like, oh, I haven't got on the bike since surgery. do you think I should go do this race? I was like, I think maybe check with your doctor or your coach. And so she comes in and
don't ask Anna Russell.
I'll be like, sure.
I just signed up for an ultra running competition out of nowhere. Yeah, come on, jump on the bike.
So she was great. We just needed someone to finish because the problem with ZRL.
There's another calm down. There's another calm down that we might need to talk about.
We kind of do. If you don't have 6 riders or one of your riders has like a Zwift mechanical, you are screwed on points. Like you are gone. You're not getting anywhere. So we just needed a hot body to finish the race. So that was awesome. But yeah, I don't know how your experience was. I ended up just doing the stupid thing of almost going for every single sprint. I did put a reel up on my Instagram, which I'm very proud of because we've been a bit dominated by 2024 this season. I'm not afraid to say it crushes me, but we are. And so they're at a point where we've usually been at a point where they're so far ahead, they can go do some fun, risky stuff, which doesn't matter, right? And so they had their whole team drop ghosts. And I just saw one of them disappear in front of me. And I went, yeah, that's something. So I just started sprinting super early with no one in front of me, being like, when are they reappearing? And then they reappeared like up the road. And I was like, I am not letting them win this. And so I ended up sprinting past all of them. And then that kind of started my downward trajectory of some emotional roller coaster. And I can see Tennille Irish in the chat. She would have seen it. I was swearing or crying or kind of like dry reaching. That was my experience. But it was fun in the end. How did you go, Nathan?
Seriously, we need to clip that. That needs to be clipped. I was swearing, I was crying, some sort of but it was fun in the end. I mean, that's like the definition of type 2 right there. Type 2 fun. Yeah. It's like I was swearing, I was crying. Tennille Irish was in the chat. I don't know what's happening.
I'll clip that for later. I'll say that's the definition of ZRL right there.
Well, my week, I mean, I think I said something in pre-production to you that I'm wondering, and I've been saying it a little bit on my live streams, that like, is my fitness needing a boost in base? Like, it's that time of year where you kind of do a reset. Most of the things that you're focused on for in real life cycling is coming to your off season. And so you get into the gym, you take a little bit of break from the bike. And so I did a ton of work from September into October, looking toward Iceman, and then I'm not doing Iceman. But I think a lot of that fitness I've been kind of playing off of a little bit and just racing. And then all of a sudden this past weekend, I hit the tiny races. Then I did Kiss 100 on Sunday. I lifted on Monday, and then I hit ZRL on Tuesday. And that might just be fatigue, right? But there's also kind of this like background feeling in the back of it that goes, this doesn't just feel like fatigue. Like fatigue feels one way, you know what I mean? Where you're tired. Mm-hmm. This feels like, you just don't necessarily got it. Like, it's like you need to do a little bit of work. So, and I know the last couple of weeks we've been talking about taking rest and, it feels really great. Well, yeah, it feels great while you're peaking. And then the peak comes down. You're like, I might have to actually like ride my bike like a professional cyclist again if I want to keep up with the professional cyclist still. So, yeah. And the ZRL for sure as far as that race, the Sprinters Palooza. I just actually released a YouTube video of it and with some nice voiceover and stuff. And that, looking back at it, I was suffering way more in that race than I have in any ZRL race. I don't think I've suffered that hard. Besides, team time trial, but you just suffer the whole time in a team time trial, right? So like, definitely was a hard one. And yeah, going for every sprint, that's a really tough line there because at least in my category and what I experience is if you don't kind of go for the sprint, you end up working a lot afterwards anyways, just to be with the pack because it spreads out so much. On that course, you don't get a lot of roll through speed on that course, it feels like, that will keep you with the pack. And so many people are going with it that it's kind of just like you have to go with it no matter what, just to be not working in an interval afterwards. So I kind of found later in the race, like, why am I not going for every one of these? Because it just feels like I end up kind of going for this anyways afterwards with energy expenditure. So my
Yeah.
plans kind of got a little
Yeah.
bit of a wrench thrown in them.
I'd kind of agree. Like, which is harder? Is it not kind of sprinting and just sort of being out of the saddle and staying with the group, but then knowing you have to keep pushing after the sprint to be in the safe zone? Or is it just going for the sprint for 8 seconds, say, being a bit ahead and having like 5 seconds of recovery to then get on the pack? So I agree with you, Nathan. I did one sprint where I was like, I'm just going to sit in. And I was like, that was actually harder. Like, I'm just going for these because it was harder and more stressful to get back on because you're almost like doing a 1 minute power effort to get back on. So I was like, nah,
100%.
let's just sprint it. Yeah.
I looked at the
But
wattages and it was like I had to do 800 to be at like the kind of middle or so pack, but not go over 1,000 for our sprints. And then like it was like then I'm doing like 500, 350 watts just to like for like you said for a while. Why didn't I just do that little extra like neuromuscular kick right away and then settle in to the front? That way easier that way. Agreed.
And there is one for those who are getting excited about the Esport World Champs. I am going to say a shout out. And like I said, it hurts me because I don't like getting beaten, but it is a shout out that Kristen Kulczynski, and this is why I was swearing on the first sprint, she is morphing into a good sprinter.
Uh-oh.
And I was swearing because I was like, how is she getting FTS? How is she a climber? And of this and of that. I was like, but credit where credit's due is I can see a transition, and she may correct me if I'm wrong, but she is looking to that Esport World Champs title for sure. And that sprint, it's like she used the course as a practice for that. And yeah, I mean, I guess beware because that was like for a climber, traditionally, that sprint is coming along pretty nicely. So it was nice to see that sort of evolution as well.
It's interesting. Yeah, definitely going to be someone who I wouldn't expect a pure neuromuscular kick from. She's got a good kick, but it's more of one of those long drag race kicks usually with her. And if it's got a bump on it there, it's a little bit better. But obviously, she's been thinking about Zwift Worlds for years, a couple of years now. This has been a focus for her. And now that it's changing up a little bit, she's got to be as well-rounded as you possibly can be. And I wonder if we're going to see that across the board of Zwift racing, where riders now have to focus more on all of their talents. You can't just focus on being a good sprinter or a good climber or whatever it might be.
Absolutely, because you also see the flip side as the Women's Grand Prix last week, and I sent her a message afterwards because I was so impressed with Katie Loka, who you would look at and go, she's a sprinter. Like, how is she getting over that, was it Temple KOM, in that front
with the lead
group?
pack? Yeah.
Yeah, and I messaged her straight after. I was like, man, girl, you've got some climbing legs now. So yeah, you're seeing this like mashup of creating this perfect Zwifter, right? It's awesome. So yeah, the new format is great for doing that. They're finding the e-sporter, which is, what we want to see.
One more thing on that ZRL from this past week. I did get a comment actually that came through over on the YouTube video that the idea that the whole pack became its own team that would chase you down. So like everyone's working together. They're not actually working together. They're all battling for sprints, but all the sprints are so close together that it essentially is a chase of any breakaway over and over and over and over again because all the sprints are so close together. So getting away on there is almost only for FAL if you can maybe eke away and get away just to grab some points, because that pack is going to come hounding you down so quickly because of how quickly those sprints jump on top of each other.
I'd say that because one of the first comments on my stream was from James Barnes going, this course is the breakaway killer. And I was like, okay. But there is one section on the course. Oh, I think there's 2 sections on the course you can break away. But it's not breakaway for the race, I don't think. I think it's more just breakaway for the next sprint. But up over Railway, up that kicker, you can do an early push and probably break away to get FAL. And then after, I think it's Castle, it goes up into that windy climb just for like 500 meters. If you can push pace there and detonate the pack or break away with a few of you to then take the next
The alley
sprint, which is
sprint. The
kind of
alley
like,
sprint.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is like 2K up the road. So those are some cool things I saw from the community. I did see someone post that they broke away on railway in the last lap and took it all the way to the finish. So
Wow, that's a big
it's,
deal. That's pretty amazing pulling that off.
yeah,
But
yeah.
at the same time, okay, if there is one situation I could see is where there's so many sprints and everyone's going for them so much that it just decimates the field and it's no longer a team working against you. It's just a straggling field that goes to
Yeah.
no watts per kilogram after the sprints. And then it's like that late in the race, okay, you might be able to get away if it's just a decimated field, depending on whether or not people are recovering. So
And
it's
do we
definitely one of the
kind of-
hard ones, right? The split, as Dave kept
It
on
is.
going into a slip, the splinters playground. It's not the sprint. I mean, it was just pain.
And I think this is a nice transition into where we are going to disagree. So this could get a little bit hot.
Oh boy.
I mean, it's not going to be hard for the riders who just cruise around lap one, then tag on to the pack, start taking some FTS points with fresh legs. It ain't hard for those riders. So they're sitting pretty.
It's not. But those riders sacrifice finish line points, which are worth a lot more than any other points. So on the FTS conversation, look, I have to say up front, I have a bone to pick with FTS in how it's currently awarded with FAL, but that's my only issue with it. So we're talking right now, we'll transition into a hot topic. If you head on over to the WTRL Zwift Racing League Facebook group, you will see 157 comments, I think it is at this point, or more.
We have both commented.
And it is an all out, the gloves are off. Are you not entertained? Gladiator world right now, okay? No, just so, anyways, just the whole idea here is that riders are saying that it is unfair that someone could sit for a lap, stay fresh, not go with the lead pack, and then be so fresh that they just jump into the lead pack as they come through on the second lap and then grab FTS points a lot easier than somebody who had to try and stay with the main pack. And they're like, that's unfair. And I just I couldn't disagree more with that, actually. And do you want me
to I agree with that, just FYI.
So yeah, and Anna agrees with them. Now we're going to give our points. Now who goes first, though? I want to hear who's going to go first. You invited me to this conversation, so don't you have to go first?
Okay, I'll go first and you can give the rebuttal. Okay, first off, it is in the rules. So I'm not saying anyone is breaking rules here. There's no DQ needed. Everyone is within the rules. Is it in the spirit of racing? No. And I look at this as there was a situation when I used to race triathlon where the pro men would go first, like kind of 10 minutes before us, and then the pro women would go. There was a racer who had a boyfriend or a friend in the pro men field who would purposefully wait in transition and he would pace her on the bike. Now, that, for me, that is within the rules. There's nothing being broken there. She's not drafting, it's just pacing. But that is not in the spirit of competition, in my opinion. And I see it as so similar to that. It's not, you're not racing. This is a ZRL race. And I can see WTRL's points there, but I think they come from a point of view of just, it's in the rules. So this is totally fine. It's in the rules. For them, it's quite black and white. I don't like it. I would have, if any of my teammates on Riot did this purposefully, like it would be almost a you're off the team. Like that is, okay. Yeah, like if they've...
Okay.
What? Okay, if they've dropped and they've said, and this has happened in a race where if I will give one out here, okay, but if they've dropped from the race, like from the sprint, and they say, oh, shall I rejoin the pack and go for the next sprint? I'd be like, I don't think so. Like you've been dropped, we've lapped you, you're out. The only time, and I saw Aaron Bleakley put a comment here, the only time I would be quasi okay with it as a team manager is if they legit had a mechanical. So if they've come out of the pens and they're like, oh my gosh, my Bluetooth is unpaired, I'd be like, pair it up, join back in with us. There's the only time I'd be like, and I would say to them, you need to put a public message up during the race that says, I had a dropout, I've rejoined back in, okay? That's the only time I'd kind of be like, fair enough. That's right. But as a team strategy, I don't agree. Rebuttal, Nathan.
Rebuttal. We got to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. I agree with you 100% with the triathlon situation because the spirit of that competition is a first across the line competition. The competition and its entire spirit is who's getting to the line first. We are not in a first to the line competition. We are in these people are going for a first across the line competition. There's a finish line competition and there's a sprint fastest through segment competition all happening within the same competition. If I were to say to someone who's on my team in Overwatch, hey healer, why aren't you shooting that person? Shoot that person. Stop standing in the corner and healing me. They'd be like, you're going to lose the freaking game, dude. What are you talking about? So right now you're comparing apples to oranges. Like I agree 100%. Apples to apples, dude. That's why in the TTT we got disqualified in race number 2.
That's fine. There was
season.
a rule, though. There was a rule.
But wait, but rules are made for reasons. Okay? You don't just make up rules like for the heck of it. They're made for reasons. And the reason here, and I'm going to argue that this is fully logical. Like this is a logical thing here. Like that it follows the reason. It follows the spirit of how this game has been set up because all races are games. The game that you're talking about is FAL, fastest to the line, right? But this isn't a fastest to the line game except for those who are going for fastest. And on top of that, you're allowed to sacrifice all FAL points, all finish line points, and just focus on FTS. Now, the problem that ends up arising is that for me, WTRL has mixed these too much. The fact that people can get both FAL and FTS has become confusing for people to be able to separate out this game enough in their own minds. It's still the tradition of original scratch race cycling coming through, and religious traditions, sport traditions, whatever you want to call them, die hard. And so I think there's a traditional spirit coming through more than a logical or reasonable spirit coming through on this argument, to be totally honest. And like, this is a calm down moment for me for sure, because I really, really, really think that this feeling, and I think it's just a feeling, is getting it really wrong.
Well, we're just going to have to agree to disagree on this. And by the way, chat has gone like bananas across Twitch and YouTube on this. And if you're listening to the podcast, chime in to the debate on the Facebook page. Because I think, a lot of it comes in contextual. Like for me, having that history of someone, having something, I'm like, it's so visceral for me where I'm like, that's not in the spirit of this racing. And
but the spirit of what though? Okay, like staying with the lead group. Like, why do you have to stay with the lead group? Like, what's the point? Give me the point. Like, why is staying with the lead pack so why? Like, what is the thing there?
Yeah, I think, if I look at it without getting too riled up.
Like, what's the better thing?
If I look at it without getting like too riled up about it, I think it does come down to how we're looking at FTS and FAL. And I know we've talked about FTS in the past and whether that needs to be morphed a bit. And I'm seeing a lot of, this is the evolution of racing, right? So you see WTRL first come in and everyone's like, this is amazing. And now you're seeing people being like, oh, let's rejig the points. And I know there's something coming in the system. And I think it's a little bit like you're saying, I will agree with you, the sort of the meshing of FAL and FTS into one race and finish line points, which has the higher weighting. And I'm not meaning points weighting, I'm meaning in your head weighting. So for me, it's always kind of like, hey, this is a race to the finish and there's some cool points opportunities on the way. And so that kind of airs me on the side of it's not in the spirit of competition. But if you're coming in and going, this is all about points along the way and making sure we maximize that, then yes, I see that you would look at this as like a valid team tactic. So I think it really depends on how you're seeing this as a race.
I agree with you, Anna. I agree with you 100% in this. The strongest rider will just take all the points. Like that's just true. And like, I feel better as a racer, okay? As a racer in my pride, in my like, oh, I dominated this. I took FAL, I took FTS, I took first across the line for the finish line. I mean, yes, that's the spirit of competition. I agree with that 100%. But we can't mix that up with like the way that this game has been set up and what we've agreed to and why, like the why to it. And it's like saying that it's better to stay with the lead pack. I just don't see, I do see it's better to stay with the lead pack in a traditional scratch race. I totally agree with that. Like, yes, of course, because that's the point of this. But when you got to that start line, the assumption was that the assumption is that's not the point. Like the point was like something totally different. And I think that we're bringing that idea, that point, that basic assumption that we have about racing in if we think that it's better to stay with the lead pack and not just get lapped. And now the getting lapped and using the field, there is an argument in there. I think that's like there's a little bit of a gray here, but I think that it's like within the rules because everybody can do it. And then the other question is like, what if everybody did do it? Like everybody just goes track standing? Because that already kind of happens, right? Everybody goes to the back for the FTS.
Yeah.
And then it like kills the whole racing thing. And so that's where like we do need to separate FAL and FTS though. I think there's a big question there to like say if you get FAL, you don't get FTS or something along those lines. Like get them away from each other.
Absolutely. And I think I've come to the conclusion I'm an FAL finish line rider. Like I get the point of FTS, but I just can't. When I see a banner, I'm like, I'm for the banner. I want to go first. I want to cross that banner. I can't do FTS. Like if you look at like the people who are watching my sprint race, they're like, hang back. I'm like, I see a finish and I'm like, I want to be the first wheel over that finish line. So that's probably why I'm coming to it with this. Whereas,
I think up front, I was totally the same. I had to like warp my mind to get where I'm not kidding. I had to like, okay, can you, how do you see this from another perspective? Because like, and I got mad at FTS at first and I still kind of am mad at FTS a little bit, to be honest, because like this, I want breakaway, go, come on, like take all the risks. I even say a bunch of stuff about taking risks in my YouTube video from yesterday. Like, dude, like we need to be all about making more opportunities. So anyways, I think I'm getting messages from Martin right now. Oh man, this is blowing up.
Oh no.
Oh, literally my WhatsApp, Martin Carew, like, oh man, here we go.
We need to get more topics where we disagree. This is
I like this. This is good, Anna. This is good. Really good. All right. Now we need that was a lot of fun. Let's talk about something a little bit more serious. You want to introduce this? You brought this in?
So I brought this in because at the start of our race, our group of East Coast women is awesome and there was just chat going on in the pens. And then one of the teams was like, we're racing with heavy hearts today. I was like, something's happened. I'm not really on like social media and things a lot. And so I was kind of like, oh, so I messaged one of the girls and was like, what's up? And she's like, I'll talk to you after the race. And so she, Katrina Weiss actually very nicely sent me a whole lot of info. And obviously you knew about this, Nathan, because I saw it in your commentary, but absolute tragedy with one of the community, Mandy Hagman, tragically dying while on holiday with her husband. But I do just want to bring to light there is a GoFundMe page, and we'll put the link in the show notes, both here and on the podcast. So that's for Leif Hagman, her husband. So yeah, it's you just never like to see this. So yeah, just to bring light to it. And again, it's a tragic to see a community member pass away.
It is. It's absolutely tragic. It was really good to see, though, that WLC brought attention to it. And it also, for me, the first thoughts that came to my mind was how real our virtual community is. Like, and how connected these people are. The description that I saw, I think Bryn Griffith might have made a description about it, but made a post about it. There's a couple others out there as well. But the relationship that was really obvious that Mandy had with her team and that the team had with her, and the commitment, the sacrifices that were made week after week together, racing. It was really, really obvious how close that had gotten, as well as how well they knew her personality. And I just want to give a shout out to the community, to WLC, as well as, of course, our thoughts, our prayers, and support as well. Check out the GoFundMe for her husband, Leif Hagman. As he's going through a lot, obviously, right now, something that none of us ever want to experience. And so, yeah, I just, let's show that connection is what I want to say. You know what I mean? Let's back that up and get behind that as much as we can as far as support goes. And it's absolutely horrible to hear. And hopefully, as a community, we can make something awesome, though, come out of it on the other end, get some redemptive spirit that we could bring to it at least in some sort of way. So shout out to WLC and our sorry and condolences, of course, to Mandy and her family and Leaf. So we put the GoFundMe link in the chat, just so everybody knows, both over at Twitch and at YouTube just now, and we'll put a link in the description on YouTube after the show here. So looks like we are going to go right on to our guest because we really took a lot of time on all things ZRL and FTS. That we had our calm down moment already. We had our calm down moment for sure. We'll bring in more calm down moments. Carissa, we were channeling the spirit of Carissa Min and her calm down throughout that entire
I know, but we couldn't ignore that Nathan and I had got triggered by each other, and so you got to bring that into the show.
100% triggered. 100% triggered. All right, well, if you don't know who Christopher Schwenker is, he is a huge part actually also of the Dirt family. Christopher Schwenker, thanks a lot for jumping in here with us. And the it's Zommunique. Zommunique. I got it. Now, it was literally stuck in my head so badly to say Zommunique that I had to communicate. Zommunique. The Zommunique, just so everybody knows. That's where Christopher Schwenker is coming in to talk about with us. It's an awesome website that he's launched, actually looking at all things Zwift. And what would you say, Christopher, is the focus of the Zommunique, actually? Like, where did this idea originate from? And also, welcome to the podcast, obviously, and great to have you.
Oh, thank you. I'm hugely honored. Big fan. Big View 3 guy here, let's say.
What?
And I appreciate that very much.
I love it. No, this is great. Nathan
I've raced now exclusively with View 3.
The spirit of winning is just
I'm
here
out
today. I'm sorry, Anna. I'm sorry.
Oh.
We're kicking her when she's down, guys. No.
No, I'm sorry also, but I must admit, after listening to you, I am also a FAL finish line rider. If I see a banner, I'm going for it. I don't care what it takes.
Okay.
And I think that when you speak about the traditions, it's absolutely true. Like I will, just from racing outdoors, doing hilly stage races or whatever, I would rather die and lay in a ditch on the side of the road than not be in the final group going over the climb.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is, But anyway, to answer your question, the Zommunique was basically just it's a retirement hobby for me. Really, it was a way for me to fulfill the second chapter of my life. I've been really fortunate. I had a physical therapy practice for 25 years and had some great employees, and they made my life really, really great and allowed me to enjoy cycling. And when I decided to take a step back from that, I just thought of what way could I impact the community that I love so much and I'm so passionate about. And I love writing, and I have to give a big thanks out to Eric because he gave me the opportunity to do some writing, and I took it from there. It was so I really he was a mentor in that way, and it's really changed things for me.
What's your Zwift origin story then? Like, how long you've been Zwifting, and where did Zwift become, a part, and that to the place that you would start this website and be that passionate about it? How did this all start for you then?
So I was actually looking back today, checking out my Zwift Power profile. So I think I did my first group ride in 2016, and I'd be, I always had to train. Before work, I had to practice. I had the family. It's dark and cold and windy on Long Island in the winter, so I was always riding and doing things with the same guys. And I started to learn about dirt, and it really spoke to me. And then I took the plunge and decided to do a little bit of racing, which actually took a while, even though I've been racing on the road for seems like forever. But it was really intimidating to me at first, but the dirt guys were so inviting and so welcoming and really nurturing, and I kind of got really immersed in the community there and got really involved with the community. So yeah, since 2017, I've been basically um, evolving into what I would consider an indoor specialist. Like I race, train, and ride exclusively indoors now, whether it's 90 and sunny or 2 degrees and windy.
So I'm sort of looking at the Zommunique page, and I know that there's a lot. Sort of, what's the if you look at the focus of the Zommunique, what's your sort of your passion area? Because I do see what you've got that I haven't seen, elsewhere as much, is really good sort of stories around the esport races and the people behind the avatars, which I've really enjoyed sort of seeing what's out there. But what's the, why did you start it? Like, what kind of stories did you want to come through from the community, and what was your passion in that area?
That's really interesting, because a lot of people would probably think that the interviews that I do with all the elite racers are the things that I consider most interesting. But I got to tell you, it's the features that I do on the average Joe members of our community that do extraordinary things that are the most rewarding and fulfilling for me. Like people that overcome extreme challenges through virtual cycling, or they're so supportive of other people that are in the community. It's that's what is really the most rewarding for me. And don't get me wrong, speaking to the elite cyclists like Lionel Vujasin or James Joseph Barnes, they're always so receptive and open, because we're promoting this sport that we're all trying to grow together. I always, like I say to my wife all the time, it's like, I just got off the phone with James Joseph Barnes. It's like talking to like Tom Brady. You know what I mean? He's like the goats of esports. Like, how, in what other sport or what other instance would you have the opportunity to do this? But it's like when you say give a face to the avatar. That's really one of the ways that I feel like I can have an impact on esports and growing the sport itself, because the only way to do that is to give an identity. It's almost like virtual cycling has an identity crisis, because you don't really know what's going on behind the avatar, even though that's evolving and developing, and the organizers of the sport are really seeing the value in that, and they have you guys, and they have Dave Toll, like really talking it up and being dynamic and creating a real nice viewer experience. But I'm not good with that. I can write things down, and that's the way that I feel like I can make an impact.
So, I absolutely love that. Now, Anna does have a point, though. I mean, that's so 100% the story behind the avatars is. So that sounds like that's kind of what you're after. Then is, hey, let's take a look at, like, we have this hype around the esports riders, and it's kind of this everybody watches, if we want to make a comparison to the big shiny moments within sport, but there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to get there, and it sounds like you're kind of after those stories. Like, what's the human side, the nitty gritty, like the more palatable, like if you were to be around this person on a daily basis, like, and not just see them when they're competing at the few seconds you see them cross the finish line. Is that kind of what you're after, then, it sounds like?
No, absolutely. I was kind of like tossing around like catchphrases and things in the beginning when I was kind of thinking about concepts. And one thing that always popped into my mind was bridging the gap between athlete and avatar. I kind of like, making that connection for people. And I utilize my physical therapy background for, some performance, articles and things like that. And, I wrote the extreme dieting article series when I was, doing work with Eric. And I'm really proud of that, because there were some pretty profound changes in the rules that were a direct result of the things that I wrote. So that was I'll always be proud of that, because it's kind of like a legacy there. And writing some articles and raising awareness of adaptive athletes on Zwift, which eventually culminated in the introduction of the hand cycle, is also another group of articles that I was really proud of, and worked with a lot of the community members who had disabilities to create like a groundswell of effort there that kind of, created some momentum. And there are so many other topics, but I just like just enhancing the community in any way possible. It isn't always around the glorious, the winning races type of thing. There are people that come in last place that are, as that are champions in many ways as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think bubbling up those community stories is really cool. If you haven't checked that out, go look at the Zommunique website and start having a look at those faces behind the avatars, because there are great stories there. Back to the sort of, as you said, the glory sort of top end riders. Who's been the favorite interview that you've done so far with an esport racer?
Oh, that's easy, Anna. The one that you wrote.
Oh, God. I'll give you your money later. Thanks, Chris.
and the second one would be the podcast that I did with Nathan and Dave. That would be the second one. No, it's I guess very early on, when I had the idea of doing those interviews, I reached out to Lionel Vujasin, and he never does any of that stuff, but he saw that I was kind of sincere about promoting the sport, and he's like, yeah, Chris, I'll speak to you, we'll get this done. And he actually recently came on the podcast also and was really open and sincere about a lot of things. And I just, it's everybody has a story to tell, and everybody's interesting in their own way. So I can't really, pick one or the other, they're all great. It's just that, it's exciting to be able to learn about people and to kind of like, everybody has a thing, so that's just what I feel about that.
What one other thing? So, you've got a good base. It seems like here now. You've been writing for a while. I feel like the website and the writing has really started to get picked up by some major cycling art media websites. Actually, at this point, like you've been published in some places now that are pretty well recognized within the cycling community, haven't you, Chris? Did we lose him?
Oh, no. Oh, there we go. Oh, he's back.
Okay. Oh, there we go. All right, we're back. Oh, geez.
Did you get me? Did you get that question there, Chris?
I think I did. And I got to tell you, it's so humbling and flattering that anybody reads anything that I write, to have something picked up by. I've been really fortunate. I had a couple articles published in Cycling Weekly, a couple in Cycling News. I had one published in road.cc recently, which is like, I think, a big deal because they don't do anything in virtual cycling. I've had some stuff published in Bicycling magazine. It's funny because I don't get paid a penny for this Zommunique. Obviously, it's just a hobby. In fact, it's a very poor business model. I'm in the red for thousands and thousands of dollars, but I do get a couple bucks for the writing. So that makes my wife happy, but because she sees me at my computer all day and I don't get paid a penny for it. But no, it's it's funny because one of the other main reasons why I created the Zommunique was to raise awareness of the charity that I created through Dirt, called the Dirt Dad Fund. I created the charity in January of 21 because the Dirt Zwift team has 12,000 members at this point, right? And there's such a huge community, and it's really nurturing and very generous and sincere. And there's always somebody that needs a little bit of help. So I thought about creating this charity where we create like unique merchandise, like these water bottles, for instance, and the design of this sweatshirt that we have here, and we sell it at enough cost, and then put all the money into the fund. And since the beginning of 21, I've donated over $10,000 to members of the community that need assistance. So it's pretty profound. It really is. Like, we have a couple of our members whose wives have cancer and they needed money for treatment. Another actual a mother inside riding trainers needed money for an MRI, and it detected another spot where she had cancer. It's one of our members decided to ride his bike outdoors and got killed, just like the unfortunate woman that you spoke of earlier. So we put some money into his college fund. Yeah, so like the I also joke that the Zommunique is just a big advertisement for the Dirt Dad Fund, because if it ever made any money, that's where the money would go.
That's awesome. That's a really tangible way that Zwift is making differences in people's lives in the community, which we were kind of talking about before. Yeah, I would definitely look at that Dirt Fund. That's unbelievable. That's a great legacy you've got there, Chris, to be able to actually help people in the real world from a bunch of avatars in a game.
Well, it really is. And the community in Zwift is great. Like, if it wasn't for the community, I'd still be droning away on my CompuTrainer in my basement. It's the community what drew me to Zwift, and what keeps me there. And it's hard to explain to other people, because they have no idea what you're saying. How can you be friends with somebody you've never met that lives on the other side of the world? Well, I happen to be sharing something that I love, and putting myself out there during one of the most vulnerable moments of my life. Racing is a really vulnerable time. You're cursing, you're crying, you're dry retching.
That's actually a really good. You know what? I've never heard it put that way, and in a lot of the studies I've done as far as other areas on relationships and philosophy, the idea of vulnerability is brought up a lot in certain ways of relationship, and how there's a necessity around it in order to really build true relationships. And the fact that you bring that up about racing, that you really put yourself out there when you have to race, right? There's the reason why there's nerves about racing a lot of times is because there's a performance expectation. There's like am I going to meet up? Is it going to be
Absolutely.
okay? Right? And then you put yourself out there into vulnerability with a team around you that's supporting you. That's literally the definition of intimacy and love. So like, that's crazy that you just brought that up, Chris. Like,
Yeah.
that's a really cool dynamic within these relationships that are forming that I've never actually made the connection of, but I talk a lot about in other areas of my life. That's cool, Chris.
Oh no, it's true. It's like putting a match to gasoline, really, when you're in those moments together. It really is. It accelerates the relationship process.
Yeah, and it also accelerates it because you can't put up any fronts. When your heart rate's at 170, all the fronts go away. You would just
Absolutely not.
roar.
So you see who Nathan really is when I'm like, like raging on everyone, and like, come on, like how competitive I really am at my like deepest, like Guerra means war literally comes out. You're like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, except if you're going to, just hang around and wait for the group to come back and just go for FTFs.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, you guys win. That's the ultimate win right there. Oh,
there we go.
Yeah, like I mean,
taking
you guys,
a clip of that.
Yeah, I mean that was so well played. I have to say that's
Two
a win
against
right
one
there for you guys.
That's awesome. Thank you, Chris.
Yay.
That's I'll clip that one, Nathan, and put it on the Facebook page. You win. Yes, I like that.
That sounds great. That sounds really great.
Oh my gosh. So, well, you got getting picked up by some pretty big cycling news articles, or outlets. Chris, there's obviously a lot of the esports community is coming around this, especially with a lot of individuals. I mean, who high profile names within the community being interviewed there. It's really cool. But I'm wondering, the Dirt Fund obviously making huge impacts. Where do you see this all going? Where's this? Where's the Zommunique? Keep on. I have a slip there for sure. Where do we see all this going in the future, Chris?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I wish I could answer that question for you. I don't know. I just going to continue to stay true to myself and write about things that are going to make an impact. Now I don't ever write an article because I'm hoping it's going to get picked up by Cycling Weekly or Cycling News. I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I don't have to do that. And I put value on experiences and relationships, and a more than money, and I'm lucky that I'm able to do that and able to give back through the Dirt Dad Fund and whatever else. So I don't know. It's fun. It's it's hard work. I built the website with my son from the ground up with no technical knowledge, and I know that you know how difficult that is. It's almost as difficult as doing a V-Everest thing, which I've done twice, and I know that you're getting ready. So
No, mine's a real Everesting, but yes, I think
oh,
yeah, I actually just locked that in, but we'll talk about that later. But I think yeah, Chris, I love what you've said there, where it's about the relationships and the stories. It's not about the money, because I think when you chase that, you end up sort of compromising on a lot of things and not creating what people really want to see. And so I think, chapeau to you to have a passion project and a hobby that it sounds like takes up a lot of your time. But everyone really appreciates.
absolutely.
I've already seen coming in from the chat that you're doing a great job. Chris has so much integrity, ride or die dirt guy, love it. I mean, bravo. There's huge amounts of comments coming in for the work you're doing. So I'm hoping, the reason I wanted to have you on the show, Chris, was I think I said to you that, a rising tide lifts all boats, right? So the more we can help expose what people are doing out there that's great for the community and get more people to see these stories, and the more people kind of sending their love out there and, seeing it for more than just a game, as we all do. And it is a way to, create some human connection. And I think you're doing a huge amount of work in that space.
Well, I really appreciate it. And coming from the two of you, that really means a lot. I don't intend not doing it. I love it. So, why would I stop doing it? It's the community is great. And if I can give back and make an impact, I feel like it's the least that I could do at this point in my life. My bike has given me so much that I feel like I need to give back to it.
Yeah. So essentially, where is this going? This is going and growing to? I'll see you down the road and on Zwift is where it's going. I'll see you. I'll see you out on the bike and maybe at some of the in real life meetups down the road. So growing the community, doing a great job in doing that, Christopher Schwenker. If you haven't checked it out, make sure to go. How can it be? It's just Z.
Thezommunique.com.
Thezommunique.com. Yes, thezommunique.com is where you can find that, and lots of articles all over there. You actually see a really cool picture of Chris with his setup there. It looks like. Is that you on your setup? I'm assuming that's you on your setup there on the front page.
With all the with the strobe lights and stuff in the background.
Yeah, that's
it
rad.
It looks pretty
Oh, yeah.
awesome, actually.
Yeah, I had the tricked out paint cave before everybody else does. Now everybody has one. Mine is not nearly as nice anymore. But no, I love my
nice.
I love my game cave.
Yeah, it's looking really good. It's on its own platform. I mean, it looks like its own, like, you could film in that space, like its own studio, little studio happening there. It's nice.
Oh, I got
nice
the lights that are synced to music. It's quite an experience.
Yes.
Disco party in there. That's awesome.
Nice.
Very, very
Oh,
cool.
it's great. All right, so I know you guys have places to go. I just want to say one more thing to Anna, because the fashion segment is one of my favorites also. But I have a different take on this. That as an indoor specialist, one of the great things about fashion is that you can get dressed in the dark. I go to the Rafa archive sale and I'll buy like the hot pink bib shorts just because I know no one's ever going to see them. You know what I mean?
That's good.
I spend more time on my avatars dressed than I actually do with my own when I'm riding. Anyway, no, it's I really appreciate the opportunity. Any way to raise awareness and promote the community and get the message out there is really special, and I really appreciate it.
100%. If you haven't checked it out already, make sure to go on over to the Zommunique. Zommunique.com. The Zommunique.com. And you can check out all of that. Chris, thanks a lot. And check out the Dad Dirt Fund.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon, Chris, I assume, on some other kind of podcast or some other kind of writing. Everybody, check it out. Christopher Schwenker.
That's great.
Thanks for having you on. So, all right. Anna, really cool. And I think he's right. I think I spend way more time on my avatar's fashion than I do at all on my in real life fashion. I mean, it's just like there's a basket of things I put on in order to go dress my avatar actually in the game. Like for me,
And
at
at
least.
least, Nathan, you don't have the pressure now. I've created this fashion monster, and now every race I'm in, I'm getting judged. And so I'm honestly like, I'm on there 10 minutes early, being like, okay, what do I do here? Because straight away, someone will be like, oh, what are you wearing? I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah,
I was
because you
actually
dished it
in,
out, so you got to be able
I
to
know,
take it,
I
right? Like
know,
you dished it out to people, and you're like, "That looks horrible. That looks
I
great."
know,
Da, 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 da,
I
da.
know.
So then everyone's like, "All right, Anna, you're gonna tell us what's
Let's
looking
see.
good. You better tell us what's looking good."
So the Flamme Rouge race I did, because you can, you jump on a different kit. I'm wearing the Team Fearless kit, which I love, but the Evo team had come on, and I love that magenta train. And so the Evo team was there, and they had color coordinated all their socks for their like 8
Whoa.
riders. And I was like, guys, you are looking fly. Like, this is awesome. And then what I did, so just heads up, if I start talking about fashion, it distracts people a lot. And then I put in an attacker, broke away from the group. So
That's so great. That is so great.
beware.
Get the fashion chatter going. I wonder if that works better amongst the ladies than with the guys. I don't think that would work with the guys.
No, this
too
was
much.
dudes. These were
That was
all
the
guys.
dudes. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give that one a try.
Yeah.
I've got a great comment coming on through here, and this reminds me of a few Zwifting friends that I have here. Sushin Salmon, longtime viewer, actually hanging out saying, "You guys wear clothes when you ride your bike?" Free the. Oh my goodness. Well, we do have some friends that are good friends of the podcast who, interesting enough, doesn't matter to them. They're,
Oh.
you can really cool a lot more if with the shirts off, but we'll leave that one at that, I guess.
Okay.
I hope you're not doing
This
that
may lead
streaming.
me,
I'm not doing that streaming. I'm not definitely
No,
not.
this may lead on to a hot topic, but I didn't know if it was. I actually messaged Jen, our team manager. I was like, I don't know if this topic is too hot, but anyway, well, I'll say this hot topic potentially for future is. I go onto Twitch. The first thing I get, directed to is some topic of some girl getting
Oh, it's horrible.
undressed to
It's
something.
horrible. It's
Yeah.
horrible. It's
And
absolutely
then,
horrible.
I sent you a message. It was like, wow, this Swifter got a ton of views. And it's like, yeah, because like on a trainer, you're just in a sports bra. And I was like, man, this is not great. So maybe a hot topic for the
but
future.
I mean, I don't know if it's that contentious. The reality, like,
it's just reality, right?
there's a reality that there's marketing campaigns that go around certain things for certain reasons, and oh man, we're gonna get in all kinds of trouble now.
Yeah, we'll bring that up later. Yeah, back
we'll
to
bring that up
fashion.
later.
So
we're kind of talking about fashion.
yeah, well, or no clothes, but anyway. So every year, so I did this first off, real rinky dink on my own YouTube channel, like 2 years ago, like the Fashion Awards. And I think it was on World of Zwift. They did that kind of show. So first year was me just on my channel. Next year it went on World of Zwift. Last year it went into the Outside Triathlon magazine thing. They actually asked me to review it and release a new list for this year. So I thought I'd give the listeners a bit of an exclusive because the article hasn't been released yet. And we'll do it over the next, few shows because I've divided it into so it's the top 10 jerseys on Zwift for 22-23 season or 2022. And we've got team jerseys, we've got the best unlocks, the best challenge, and then special mentions. So today we'll go through the team jerseys. I do want to call out though, I don't know if she listens to the show, but Laura Perry, trigger warning. I have noticed every time I post anything about fashion on Facebook, she comes in, I disagree. I hate those jerseys. And I messaged her and was like, I feel like you're getting triggered every time I do this. So I'm putting out a trigger warning that this will likely create some triggers for you if I did not include your favorite jersey. But if you disagree, you can release your own fashion awards and it'll probably trigger me.
And tag Anna and share out whatever it is because we all... All right. Well, it looks like we're leading with this is a team we've talked a lot about and talking about good causes. The team type 1. This is a pretty old school jersey, actually. This has been around for a long time. JDRF and team type 1 have been a major part of Zwift from almost the get-go. I think this was maybe put in game 2016 even or so.
Yeah, so this is what I like about this is it's a great kit. I like what I put in the article was it's smooth with clean cut lines of royal blue and white, and you don't often see this blue in game, so it really does stand out. I don't see many kits that look like this, and I notice this kit every time it rides past me in game. It's just stunning in its simplicity is what I've put there. So I've said, make sure when you see this crew out to give them a good ride on, because the jersey looks great, but it also, like you said, is for a really good cause. So riders who are in this team are connected to type 1 diabetes in some way. Either they have it or they've got a parent, grandparent or family member with the condition. And it's just bringing light to the cause. But I wouldn't shout it out if it was a bad kit. So it also is, in my opinion, a really nice kit. And this rider who sent me their garage pick has paired it very nicely with the same blue socks and the white shoes. So it pairs well, and it's a blue that I don't see often, so it stands out.
And right on the opposite side of the spectrum, actually, when it comes to when released in game, one of the newer kits in game is going to be the Team Rhino. This one, I like this one, and because for me, it's got that like game feel. It's got that like 16-bit kind of, with the way the graphics kind of are on there a little bit. It's got a gamey feel to it, and yet on the same side of it, it's got it kind of contrasts with the way the writing is on there though as well.
Yeah, so what I've said about this kit, I actually featured this as in one of our first Fashion in the Fields because I saw it in a group ride and was like, this is amazing. This kit is great, and reached out to their team. It's probably one of my most favorite jerseys of the year, obviously, because it's in the top 10. So it's got on the back, it's a stylized rhino in a light purple that offsets against a deeper purple. Then you've got the hot pink writing and logo, which pairs beautifully with that off the map headband, which most of their team is wearing now.
It goes
and
good
also
with the visor too.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. No, nothing. I was about to agree there. I was like, no. Wait up, no. And also the two-tone Tron. It almost matches perfectly with this kit. So, yeah, phenomenal. This one stands out. Great job, Team Rhino Racing.
Yeah, that is a great point. There's only one color that can go with that. Wow, that's a good pickup there. Really good pickup. Awesome. Another awesome. This one, the moment we saw this one in game, the Betty Squad. This one stands out like almost no other. But because it's kind of a hot mess a little bit though too.
Yeah, it is. Now, I am going to note, because we were talking about pre-show, I was like, I feel like I've missed a team, because this is actually what have I put it there? This is a special mention kit. So there is another team, and I will give them a full shout out on the show next week. So the team knows who they are, but we'll shout them out on the show next week. This is a special mention kit. So Betty Design jersey, you get this through doing some of the workouts. I think they're on Wednesdays and Fridays, I believe it is. But it's Kristen Mayer is the founder of Betty Designs, and she actually brings together fashion and surf culture. And you can kind of see that there. It's kind of got that, I've said it's a stunning piece that encapsulates the ethos that women can be both strong and beautiful, which I like. It's got the trademark, which stands out big time. I've actually got a wrist sweatband from Betty Design because I love that trademark of the skull and crossbones, but instead of the crossed bones, it's a butterfly. So it kind of just screams badass, right? It's sort of like, yeah, I'm like a pirate, but with a cool butterfly. So like that badass and beautiful both together. So yeah, go try the Betty Designs badass workouts. They're Wednesdays and Fridays. That's how you get this kit. So this one is a special mention.
Definitely feels like they've been hanging out and putting graffiti up all over Zwift. When you look at this kit, like, watch out for these ladies. I mean, they're the gang is coming. That's for sure. All right. Last but not least, in our 4 that we are highlighting today for the top 10 in the teams, this is another old school as it gets. This is right alongside of the first kits put in game. This is not the first kits that were actually put in game, but there was community kits that started to get put in game, and this was one of the first batches, the Team PTZ kit. You can actually see the Vision logo on the back there as well, because we had partnered with them, and at the same time that Vision went in, I think, first, and then PTZ came in with the second batch, and then we were actually partnering with them as a sister team of Vision actually at that time. So PTZ, old school, awesome to see the Portugal team being featured here.
Yeah, so this one, I have put in the article that it could be very polarizing, and I was really tossing up whether to put this as one of the top 10 kits. But I ended up going with yes because of the sort of retro element of it. So you look at the two juxtaposition. Team Rhino Racing is very futuristic. It's very sort of Zwift now. Whereas this one is very, you want to have that heart back to the past. And it's sort of like how last year I featured the really old school Team Zap kind of Zwift jersey. I included this one for the same reason. You look at it in game, and I haven't seen this a lot in game, and I think I would be drawn to it. And I don't know if I'm drawn to it because I necessarily just absolutely love the design. I think it's just because it's unique and you can tell it's one of the first jerseys in Zwift. It just has that look. And I think we've always got to have a little bit of a leg back to the sort of the early days of Zwift. And this encapsulates those early days really well, in my opinion. So that's why I included it.
It's 100. That's so true. I mean, if you show up with an original 80s, 7-Eleven jersey or something along those lines, there's a lot of clout that goes behind that, right? There's a lot of respect that goes behind that. And there's a reason why once in a while we get those harkbacks to old school certain eras of cycling in our fashion that even shows up nowadays. Once in a while it will work. And so I see that 100% with the PTZ. Now, last but not least, now this isn't a part of the top 10. Let's move on. But real quickly, before we move on about these kits, Anna, for those just tuning in, or wait, what is this about with the top 10? What's happening with these exclusive we're looking at right now, and what you're writing again?
Yes, so writing an article, it's already written actually, it's been submitted, so it will get released in the next couple of weeks. It's the top 10 kits on Zwift. So we've featured 4 today. We've got 6 more to go over the next couple of shows, but I thought I'd just sort of release it out to our VOD and podcast community a bit first. But you'll see, I'll put the article up on, I usually put everything on Facebook on the ZRL racing page because they're kind of the committed viewers. So if it triggers you, I apologize, but I did put the warning there. But feel free to rip it to shreds. But yeah, we'll next week cover one of my favorite team jerseys, which has got a great story behind it. And we might look at a couple of my favorite unlocked jerseys for the year.
Fashion in the Field was submitted by a very, very committed viewer, Henry Hardy.
Yeah.
And his masterpiece, Up and Out of the Saddle. What? This was a long message. He put a lot of work into describing this, Anna.
Yeah, I love this. And before we go into this, I do want to shout out, we had our highest number of podcast downloads last week. And I do want to thank everyone for sharing it. And I am noticing a lot more of people actually sending me things to put up. So thank you to Henry Hardy for sending this through. He kind of went into this as if it was like an art piece, the history and all of this, which I really love, people taking their fashion extremely seriously. He's called it his masterpiece named Up and Out of the Saddle. Now, I'm not going to call it that. I'm sorry, Henry. I'm going to call it the Buzzy Bee because it looks like a bee to me, the black and white stripes everywhere. Now, I gave him 2 critiques on this Fashion in the Field. If I saw this, I would be like, yes, that looks awesome. But when you look closely, and this isn't his problem, this is maybe something Zwift needs to look at. The drink bottle does not match. It's the one thing you look at and go, oh, that stands out, that white drink bottle. So he can't do anything about that. That's in game. But if Zwift could maybe add, you could pick your own drink bottle color, then that would be perfect with a little black and white striped drink bottle. And the only other thing is the socks. I think he should have gone for just the solid yellow socks because he's added in another color there. Everything is black and white, apart from the socks have sort of a lemon colored yellow, which doesn't offset well against the kit. Everything else looks great.
I just got to read this I'm going to read it for quick as I can. He says, okay, just send me the prize. They have taken one of the most boring original jerseys in Zwift and accessorized it to the tasteful accents, including the DT Swift's yellow stripe, and made it a masterpiece. Sure, it's a disc wheel on a road bike, but this is Zwift, not your Saturday outdoor group ride. The rules are different, and it's allowed. In fact, required if one races. Yes, Mavic shoes and DT wheels is a bit strange, but again, in Zwift, anything goes. Besides those socks, shoes, wheel, and drivetrain, coordination simply dazzles. The water bottle is a wart, but the sponsor demands it to be displayed. But who cares? Seriously, do the eyes even leave that cap? Okay, so this is, I absolutely love that he got so into this. So great job by Henry Hardy and loving the fashion in the field. So, Anna, what are you writing there? What's going on?
Oh, sorry. That's a reminder for me for next week. I was like, it's front of mind. I need to write that down.
All right. So what's coming? I know you got to go pretty quick here, Anna. That's a great episode here. Real quick, what's coming up this weekend for you?
Okay. I have officially announced my virtual Everest to my local community. So it is out there. I'm going for the New Zealand Everesting women's record, and that is happening on the either 26th or 28th of December. So that's locked in. So I need to get some practice on the hill happening because that's not too far away. I'm actually racing this weekend on Sunday in a triathlon. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, should be a bit of fun. I've realized though that my bike is stuck in the big chain ring, so I'm kind of hoping that that's going to be sweet. Had a bit of issues coming back from its adventure, and the front derailleur is broken. So that should be a bit of fun. Tomorrow I'm meeting a friend and doing a trail run. So yeah, I'm not spending a lot of time Zwifting. I actually will probably at nighttime, if I have the energy, do some of the Flamme Rouge stuff. I'm actually going to hit the Flamme Rouge stage 5 or 6 that they're up to tonight because it's on Harrogate, which is one of my favorite courses. So yeah, that's what I'm up to.
I am going to be doing the Fondos. The Fondos are launching this weekend, so I'm going to focus in on that. Wednesday Worlds is launching back up for December, so make sure to check that out next week prior to. And then, I don't know, Kiss 100 plus some endurance. I need to put some hours in on the bike, I think. I don't like losing fitness. Go do some lifting, things like that. That's what's happening for me. All right, everybody, thanks a lot for tuning in. This has been episode number 20 of The Wrap. And obviously, you can check this out everywhere where you can get your podcasts, and I'll have that uploaded shortly after we have been live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, as well as Twitter. And we will see you all tomorrow, hopefully over on Zwift's channel for the Grand Prix. That's coming up as well. And episode 21 next week. We're always live here on Thursdays. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And as always, ride on.